Hello, everyone. So, going to talk about technical writing 101, which is let's talk about technical writing. Then I'm Solomon Esenyi, and I'm a technical writer at Unstoppable Domains. Yeah, so about me. So I'm a software engineer with a team for Python and Golang. I prefer writing about code to writing actual code, and then we're all going to make it. So let's start with a small QA session. So how often do you consume technical content from the audience? How often do you consume technical content? Articles, documentation, any form of writing that talks about tech as a whole? I'll just. Okay. So the second question: how often do you create technical content? Does anybody here create technical content at all? Okay, nice. Okay, so what is technical writing? Yeah, so basically, technical writing is the creation and management of written content about tech. So when you go online, you have a problem with a particular library or a particular language, and you're looking for a solution. You go to Google, you search for an article, you search for what you're looking for, and then you see an article on Medium or Dev2 or whatever. Yeah, that's the form of technical writing. That's the technical content. Or you're looking to integrate a library, and then you go over to their developer documentation to just like see how it works, see what they offer. That's also a form of technical content. So the process of creating and managing those content is called technical writing. Yeah. Yeah. So technical writing comes in various forms. So end user documentation. So for example, now you have a website, you have a web application, and then you want to integrate Paystack to accept payments. Then you decide to go to Paystack's documentation to see, okay, how do I get started? What do I need to copy? What do I need to install? That's the form of end user documentation. Then how to guide and tutorials. So this is what I said earlier about you have a problem in your code, and then you decide to go to Google for a solution, and then you see an article on Medium. That's the form of a how-to guide. So it just basically show you the steps to follow to solve a particular task or a problem. Then product requirement documents. So these are used by project managers and then software engineering teams. So it's basically a document that contains the requirements for the software that they are going to build. So this is also a form of technical writing. So technical marketing and promotional pieces. So this can come in forms of articles that have the aim to promote a particular product or a particular feature of a product. Research papers, professional reports, white papers, case studies, instruction manuals. All these are forms of technical writing. So now, why should you start writing? So the first one, it's a highly paid skill. So technical writers are highly paid, and then the average salary for a technical writer is about $76,000 a year, and then it's growing each year. Yeah. Also, another reason why it's highly paid is so every software company actually needs a technical writer. So there's this software company, and then they have their software engineers, they have their product, they have their whatever. So they need technical writers to pass across what they are building, how to use their products to their end users at the end of the day. So that's why you see there's an increase in demand and in the salary paid to technical writers, because the more tech companies that we have, the more technical writers are needed. Yeah, so another reason, the more you research and write, the more you learn and become an expert on various technical subjects. So you're writing about a particular technology, and then you're writing about a particular topic as a whole. As a technical writer, you'd have to research on that particular topic to write about it. And in the process of researching about it, you get to learn about that particular technology, and then become an expert in that particular field. Another reason, you develop a better sense of user empathy and pay closer attention to how the readers or product customers think rather than what you believe. So let me explain this in depth. So we have the engineers in the company who are building the product. So they are building their product. What's on their mind is, okay, building the product, basically letting it launch, letting it do its tasks. So now, the technical writer, technical writers are in the middle between the engineers of the company and then the end users, because they are the form of communication bridge between those two parties. So the technical writer is communicating to the end user how to use what the engineers built. So when you're a technical writer and then the more you write technical content, you get a better feel of how customers of the product would use that particular product. Also, you get to teach your fellow developers what you know. So you're writing an article on how to solve a particular bug you faced, or you're writing a software documentation on how to use a particular product. You're getting to teach your fellow developers the things you know, and if they have any problems along the way, you're helping them resolve it. Yeah, the fifth one, you get an increase in your brand recognition and grow your network. So as a technical writer, you can decide to have a blog, for example, and then the blog where you push technical content, so you write articles and tutorials about various products, various technologies, and the rest. And then through that, through your blog or through whatever medium you decide to publish your content through, you get an increase in your brand recognition. You get popular for that. So basically, somebody is looking for, you have a blog about a particular thing. Let's say you have a blog about Golang, and now somebody wants to refer their friend who is also a Golang developer to a resource point where they can learn about Golang as a whole, and then your blog can just come to their mind that, oh, there's this guy that writes really great articles on Golang. So you get an increase in your brand recognition and all of that. Yeah, so prerequisites to become a technical writer. So first, you should know how to write. So this should be very basic. So this just includes tenses. You should know how to spell, basic grammar to actually communicate your thoughts in written form. And then the reason is you don't want to publish content that is filled with poorly constructed sentences and typos. So you don't want to, it won't be nice if you are reading an article and you're seeing typos everywhere, or they're not using comma where they're meant to put comma, and all of that basic grammar and all of that. Also, you should possess good communication skills to pass your knowledge clearly and effectively. So this just means that, okay, yes, you know how to use a particular product, but can you communicate? Can you teach other people how to use a particular product? So that's also a skill you need to learn as a technical writer. So you need to learn the skill that you just need to have the ability to, okay, you know a particular thing, and then you're able to teach it to other people. Also, you should adequately develop your technical skills and have the ability to research intensively about a topic. So this is one thing I will stress on. So there are a lot of people who would just go into technical writing because they don't want to code and they feel that you do less code there. Yes, you do less code there, but it's very essential that you have good technical skills, because you're writing a product you're documenting a product that an engineer built, and then you open the code base and then you don't even understand what is going on at all. So that is where your technical skills would assist you. So technical writing tools. So this next set of slides just contains like list of tools that would help you as a technical writer. So for researching, we have Google, Quora, Stack Overflow. So Google, everyone's favorite search engine. I don't need to explain that in depth. So Quora is a forum where people ask questions and get answers. Now, why I put Quora as a researching tool is, okay, you might come into a company as a technical writer and you are planning on writing how-to guides on issues that users of your product commonly face. So you can go to somewhere like Quora and just research what are the issues people are facing using a particular product, and you can see questions that people have asked about that particular product and decide to write an article about it. Stack Overflow, same things like Quora, but for devs, more of code and all of that. So you can also see what users of your products are facing, and then you can write technical content to solve that particular problem. For note-taking tools, so technical writing has a lot of research involved. You research about a particular technology, you research about a particular tool, you research about things as a whole. So during your research process, you might want to take notes and all of that. So you have Google Keep, Evernote, Notion. So use all of them and then see which one you prefer the most. For authoring tools, these are the tools you'd actually use to write your technical content. So you can use Google Docs, Microsoft Word, Visual Studio Code, Dropbox Paper. So you might wonder why Visual Studio Code is there. So when you start writing software documentation and you're using products like Gitbook, you're using products like Redocly, README, and all of that. So some of them offer web view versions, a web app to edit your documentation, or sometimes you might just want to clone the GitHub repo of your documentation, open it in VS Code, edit the code, and then push to GitHub, let it deploy to the live server without having to open the whole web, new web app of whatever documenting tool you are using. Now for drawing tools, so you might wonder why do you need to draw? So you can have an article and then you want to just show a flowchart diagram, or you want to show a basic diagram that just explains a particular concept. So you can use draw.io. You can also use Escali Draw to draw. Now, the one at the top, Snagit. Snagit is a software for basically recording your screen. So you want to take a screenshot of a particular part of your screen. You want to highlight a particular section. You want to show arrows that you are guiding the reader. Okay, click on this button, and then you take a screenshot of your screen. You show an arrow. So Snagit helps you with all of that, recording your screen, taking pictures, taking screenshots, and all of that. Now, editing tools. So these are tools to actually edit your grammar. So we have Qbot. Qbot is a paraphrasing tool. So paraphrasing is you write a sentence in a particular way, and then you just want it rephrased in another form, but still pass across the same message. So Qbot helps you do that automatically. Just paste your sentence inside Qbot, and then you get a paraphrased version of your sentences. Then we also have Grammarly. Grammarly helps you with grammar as a whole, typos, punctuations. It also gives you suggestions on how to properly construct your sentences. It tells you when you're using active and passive voice and all of that. The Hemingway editor also does the same thing with Grammarly, but it's like a free version, so you can check all of them out. For publishing tools, these are tools that you would use to actually publish your technical content. So WordPress, I added WordPress because it's used to create blogs. So you might want to just create a blog where you write about technical articles, just write tech articles as a whole. So you can use WordPress to set up your blog. We also have Dev2. So Dev2 is this social media platform that allows you to create blogs. So you just create a Dev2 account, and then you can decide to start publishing blogs from there. Same thing with Medium, same thing with Hashnode. They are all platforms for publishing, for creating your own blog and then basically publishing to it. So documenting tools. So the tools here are targeted towards end user documentation. So I gave the example of Paystack's documentation earlier, where you have this website that shows all the features about a particular product and then shows you how to get started with using those products. So we have Gitbook, we have Swagger, Redocly, Docusaurus. So Swagger is a bit different. Swagger is mainly for software engineering teams. So Swagger basically highlights your endpoint of a particular API, and then shows sample requests, shows parameters, shows responses, and allows you to test them live. Yeah, also, I forgot to mention, so the link to the slide is actually at the bottom, the bit.ly link there, bit.ly/technical writing talk. So if you want to download it and then access it later on, that's the link there. And then it's on every page. So technical writing resources. So these are a couple of resources to get you started on technical writing and then basically scale forward. So the first is the Pocket Technical Writing List. So this is a repository of resources that would help you get started with technical writing and then various things in technical writing. So getting started with Markdown. So Markdown is a markup language, something like HTML, but then it's mostly used for writing. So if you go to a GitHub repository, you see things called README files. So they are this kind of file that just give you context on that particular repository. So those README files are written with Markdown. So as a technical writer, it is helpful that you know Markdown. So Google also provides a couple of technical writing courses that you can take. So the link is there. Awesome Technical Writing is also a repository of resources to help technical writers. And then Technical Writing A to Z is also a resource to get started with technical writing. Then Learn API Documentation is a course that is specifically targeted for people who want to learn how to properly document APIs. So using the publishing tools, the documenting tools listed earlier. And then we have these paid community writer programs. So it's a repository that contains different companies who are looking to hire technical writers on a freelance basis. So there are some companies that regularly open writer programs for people to apply, pitch a topic or pick a topic and then contribute to their blog, and then you get paid for that. So the last link there takes you to a whole list of companies like that. Now, best practices for technical writing. Yeah, so the first one, you should create an outline for your content before you start writing. So now, what does an outline mean? So an outline is basically like a skeleton of the content you want to write. So let's say you want to write an article. So your outline will basically contain the headings of your document, the headings that would be in your content, and then bullet points that give more context to what will be written in that particular section of the article. So on the right side, so this is an example of an outline. So we have the title at the top: build and deploy an API with Python, Flask, and Doppler, and then there are bullet points that explain what it does, what would be written in that particular section. You have another heading, what is Doppler, and then give an in-depth explanation to the reader on Doppler. So just basically headings and bullet points of what will be contained in those headings. So now you might be wondering, why do you want to do this? So this helps you structure your articles better, structure your contents better. So you don't want to just, you want to write about Doppler, for example, and then just open Google Docs and just start writing. But at the end of the day, your article would be poorly structured. So this helps give you structure to your articles. So you already have an outline, you have a skeleton of how the article would look like, and then you can already edit this before you start writing, and then structure it anyhow you like. Okay. So number 2, maintain consistency in your writing. So this includes heading styles, grammatical persons, and any other lingo. So let me explain what that means. So you're writing an article, and then you are referring to the reader as user. The user should do this, the user should do that. In another part of your article now, another section, you're now coming to write the reader should, or you're saying the customer should. So maintain consistency. If you start using any particular thing, maintain it all through. So that's an example of that's an example of something you should maintain, how you refer to the reader. Another thing is heading styles. So there are different kinds of heading styles. There is sentence case headings, there's title case headings, there's a lot of different styles of headings. Now, if you start using, let's say, sentence case heading for your title, and you've been using it for a couple of titles in your article, maintain it all through. Don't write sentence case headings in some sites, don't write title case headings on another side. Just maintain consistency in whatever you're writing. Now, let me explain a bit about grammatical persons. So grammatical persons is how you refer to the reader of an article. So you might be reading some articles and they'll say something like, you should download this application, or you should click on this button. Then you see some other articles that will say something like, we have to download this application, we have to click this button. So those are examples of grammatical persons. The grammatical person in the first example is you. You are referring to the reader of the article as you should. In the second example, you are referring to the reader as we should, basically saying that me and you should do something. So now, if you start your article using you should download an application. Don't come later and say, we should do something else. It might not be what's the word to use? You might not see it as much of an issue because the reader understands it at the end of the day. But for consistency's sake, stick to one grammatical person. Whatever you start, follow it throughout the article. Now, lingo. Lingo is just basically terms you use to refer to a particular thing. So, for example, now you're writing an article about blockchains and you're saying gas fee, gas fee, gas fee. You now come later and say transaction fee. You are referring to the same thing, but you're using two completely different terms. If you start with one, stick with it to the end. So the third one, write your sentences clearly and don't repeat yourself. So you're writing an article and then you are looking for how you can merge words together to make it long and all of that. Don't do that. If you find any way at all to pass across your message using lesser words, do it. But then I'm not saying you should use high vocabulary words to explain a particular thing. But like, write your sentences clearly. The reader doesn't have to think much about it to properly understand it. And also, don't repeat yourself. So let's say you state a fact at the top of your article that says something like, in the year 2020, this happened. You're not coming to another section of the article and you're saying, in the year 2020, this happened. The reader has already read it before. So there's no need to repeat yourself. Okay, avoid writing long paragraphs and then learn to break them into short and precise forms. So you might read some technical content and then you have a particular paragraph that is very long. To be very honest, not a lot of people are going to read that. So try and break your paragraphs into shorter forms. So it's very okay you have a particular heading and you have like 10 different paragraphs under it. It's very okay. It's easier to read than reading a version where all the 10 paragraphs are merged into one and then everything just looks like a textbook. Okay, yeah, so the fifth one, write your sentences in active voice rather than passive voice. So let me give examples of active and passive voice. So for active voice, you can say something like, monkeys adopt bananas. The cashier counted the money. The dog chased the squirrel. For passive voice examples for the same exact thing, you can say something like, bananas are adored by monkeys. The money was counted by the cashier. The squirrel was chased by the dog. So this is active and passive voice. I don't want to go much into the English of everything. So it just basically means that, okay, if something is doing something, just like put it in front, basically. I am doing this, not that action is being done by me, basically. So I am attending OSCAFEST, and then say something like, I don't know the example to use for that one, but you get the point. Okay, so number 6, use white spaces and bullet points wherever you can. So let's say you are writing an article and then you are listing okay, let's say I want to write the list of everybody here. So instead of me saying something like person A, comma, person B, comma, person C, all the way to the end, you can use bullet points for that. That would make your content clear. So somebody is reading and then I don't see a lot of things and I'm like confused what is happening here. When you have a bullet point, it stands out and the person is like, oh, you are listing something here rather than it just being straightforward and then all of that. So white spaces to use them. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So wherever you can in your content, include pictures, so that you just basically, so you are explaining a particular concept, and then you add a picture that helps the reader properly understand it. So it's very helpful, and it's also allowed to use memes or whatever into your content. Also, don't screenshot code examples, embed them with Markdown or GitHub gist. So you're writing an article on how to use a particular library and you want to show a code snippet in your article. Don't go to your terminal. Don't go to your IDE, VS Code or whatever. Screenshot it and then add it as a picture on your article. I might be reading your article and then I want to copy that code and paste it directly into my into my own IDE. I can't do that because it's a picture. But then Markdown allows you to embed code directly into your articles, and then they will be properly formatted like they would be in your IDE, and then provide the functionality for the reader to copy it from there and then just go and paste it. But then whenever you want to paste like long snippets of code, you can, instead of you filling up your article, you can just host it on GitHub Gist. So GitHub Gist is this place where you can just post code snippets, and you can embed that code snippet into your article, so the reader can just go through it and then do whatever. Also, you should explain abbreviations the first time you use them in your content. So you have an abbreviation, basically. So don't just start the article and then you're already telling them, okay, let me use an example. So there's this thing called DAOs, DAO. So the full form is Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. So you're writing an article and then you just start with a DAO is this. Like the first time you use that abbreviation, write it out in full form. You can write it out in full form, then write the abbreviation in a bracket. And then when you're going forward with your article, you can be using the abbreviation because you've explained it to the reader ahead of time. So I don't see DAO and in your article, and I have to open Google in another tab to know what a DAO means before I come back to your article to read it completely. Number 10, if you are building code demos in your content, always rebuild the demo first. So what this means is that, let's say you're writing an article that teaches the reader how to build a to-do app using Python and MongoDB. Now you've built your demo, you've written your article, you are ready to publish. Now, before you proceed to publishing, create that to-do app again. But this time, follow the instructions that you wrote for the reader. Now, if there's any error in your code, you would notice it by the time you're trying to rebuild it. If, let's say, during the process of writing the article, you went back to edit one part of the code, maybe you found one new bug, and then you went to edit it, and then you forget to update it in the article. During the process of rebuilding that article, during the process of rebuilding that demo application, you would encounter that error, and you'd be like, oh, I made this update and then I forgot to update the article, and then you just go back to the article and then do whatever. So always rebuild your app before you publish it. Also, check your grammar with tools like Grammarly and Hemingway app. So basically the editing tools that I listed earlier. Don't fill your content with vocabulary you wouldn't use when conversing with a person. So if there's a particular term, okay, let's say you're talking with somebody now. There are certain words you would use to pass across your message. Now, if there's this big word somewhere that you would not use on a normal day to talk to somebody, don't add it to an article, because I don't want to be reading your article and then have to open a dictionary to understand the meaning of a word before I come back to understand what you are trying to pass across. So take your time to properly understand your content's intended audience. So this just basically means that, okay, I'm writing an article. Just take your time to understand, is this article for beginners? Is this article for engineers? Is this article for non-technical persons? So when you have an idea of, okay, your article's audience, that would help you in just basically put that into consideration when you're writing your article. So you're writing an article for a non-technical audience, that would guide you that, okay, I shouldn't use some terms that only engineers would understand. You would use terms that a non-technical audience is familiar with. Then also reread your content carefully to improve each sentence. So you've written your article, you're ready to publish, go back and read it again. But this time when you're reading it, try and look for ways to improve each sentence. Okay, how can I make this sentence shorter? How can I pass across this particular message better? Basically improve your content before you proceed to publishing. This is basically like your editing step or whatever. And now some SEO best practices. So before I go on with this, so SEO is basically search engine optimization. So it basically means that, okay, you write an article and then you want your article to be ranked on Google. Somebody searches for something in that particular field, and then your article comes up first on Google. Google ranks your article that, oh, let's give this to this person. So these are tips that would help you improve your article's SEO. So the first one, make your article title clear and straightforward as possible. You want to write an article about using pay stacks documentation. Just go straight to the point. How to integrate pay stack into your application. That is a good title. Don't write something long or something that is not straightforward, like I don't know an example to use, but then just make your title clear and as straightforward as possible. So I search for pay stack on Google, and then the reader can already read the title from there. So as a reader, from your article's title, I already understand what you want to tell me. So that would make me want to even open your article and see the full details. I can already gain context of what the article is about from the title alone. And number 2, identify keywords related to your content topic and use them multiple times in your article. So keywords are specific words that a user would type on Google that would just basically link them to your content. So I've been using Paystack, for example, now to integrate payments. So the keywords in Paystack, for example, that would make a reader want to open your article is Paystack, and then payments, and then Paystack, payments. Those are the keywords of that particular content. So if you want it to be specific to a particular language, using Paystack with Python, Paystack, payments, Python are your keywords for that article. Those are the main words in your article that would make somebody want to open it. So now, when you've identified the keywords for your article, use them in your title. So Google brings it up first. When Google is indexing websites to bring up on the search result, the first thing they account for is the title. What does the title of this content say? So if you have your keywords in your title, it improves your content chances of coming up on Google's first page. So, and also use it multiple times in your content. Use it in your paragraphs, use it everywhere in your content. And then use canonical URLs to post the same content on multiple publishing platforms. So you can have a blog on WordPress, have the same blog on Medium, have the same blog on Dev2, have the same blog on Hashnode, and you want to publish the same content to the 4 of them. Now it is okay to publish it there, but then when you publish the main content, let's say the main content is on WordPress, and then you want to republish that same content on Hashnode, make the original content link a canonical URL. So this just basically means that. Now, let me explain from Google's point of view. You search for a particular topic. Google sees 4 results. The same content, the same everything, but from different sources. Now, Google is confused. Which one should I bring up first? Which one should read? That Google would not bring up all 4. Google is confused. Okay, which should I bring up first? So now, you are using the canonical URL to direct Google for the one I should bring up first. So you choose a main content source. Let's say WordPress. WordPress is my main content source. I want Google to always bring up my WordPress blog. And then I just want the 3 others to be backup or whatever. So when you're publishing on the other 3, you tell the other 3 that, okay, this particular content is basically a duplicate of this WordPress blog. And then you do that using canonical URLs. So I added a link for you to just read more about canonical URLs, how they work, and then how to set them for your multiple publishing platforms. Now, number 4, create human readable URLs for your pages, so users can have a good idea of what to expect by reading the URL alone. You can see a URL that says something like how to integrate Doppler with Python. From the URL alone, I already know what that link is going to show me. And that is better than something like site.com/post22. I can't use post22 to know what that article is about, to know what that link is leading me to. So that also helps. And also keep them less than 100 characters. Now, the reason for this is because when Google also looks at your URLs whenever it's ranking content to display. And then Google will only read the first 100 characters. Anything after the first 100 characters does not concern Google. That's between you and your blog. Google will just read the first 100 and then analyze that and know whether it should display it for the reader. So try and keep your titles less than 100 characters so Google reads everything completely and has a full idea of what it's about. Now, make the title of your pages unique and keep them below 70 characters. So now, the reason why we say 70 characters here is that when you search for something on Google and then you see that title, there are some titles of some websites you see that Google would put ... at the back. Yeah, any character above the 70 character mark, Google automatically put ... So if your article is less than 70 characters, the reader would see everything at a glance from Google's homepage. The sixth one, use the first 120 characters of your meta description to communicate this. Now, let me just explain what this is. You go to Google, you search for something, it brings up a couple of websites, and then under that website title, you can already see some text that describes what that website is about. You can see a website, like you can see an article, and then there see something like, in this article, will guide you on how to blah 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 blah. That is called a meta description. Now, for that, Google would only pick the first 120 characters of your meta description and show on Google. So try as much as possible to keep like the most essential part of your article within the first 120 character mark, so it shows properly on Google. And then if somebody searches for something, they can already see that, oh, okay, I like this article, let me read it. Save your images with names that describe them and keep their names short. Now, why you might want to save your images with names that describe them. When on Google's image tab, Google uses the file name of that particular image to index it. So you search for something like flowers on Google, it will bring up Google, and Google sees a file that the name says flowers. So it just comes up that, okay, this might be a flower. So yeah, that is why you should save your file names, your image names with something that describes them. And then you should also keep the names short, leading to shorter URLs. So Google tends to prefer websites that have shorter URLs than the ones that have longer URLs when it's indexing them. Number 8, use hyphens to separate words in your media file names. So you're writing you have a file and then you are saying something like, the file is basically a picture of OSCAFEST, and then you want to separate that. So instead of you using white space or underscore or whatever, it's preferable you use hyphens to separate them. So picture hyphen of hyphen whatever. Also, make the alt text of your images descriptive and avoid unnecessary keywords. So now, your alt text, the alt text of an image is a basic description. Look at it like your caption, an image caption. Basically, you're posting an image on WhatsApp or Twitter and you write a caption. Something like that. That is what an alt text is. So make the alt text of your images descriptive. So that even if you close your eyes and then somebody reads out the alt text of your images to you, you understand what is contained in that image. And this also helps Google in identifying your images. Limit the number of followed links on any given page to 100. So you have a page, you have an article, and you are referencing other articles in your page, you are referencing other pages. Try and keep them lower than 100. Once you start going above that mark, Google would see your page as spammy, because why is a page linking to more than 100 pages? Number 11, avoid having multiple hyperlinks pointing to the same page. So you have an article, and then you have an article that teaches the reader how to use Paystack. And then you want to reference Paystack documentation. So you don't always have to repeat your hyperlinks, like put it in like 20 times, the same link going to the same page 20 times in a content. It's completely unnecessary. And then use useful, descriptive, and relevant anchor text for your hyperlinks, and avoid generic terms such as click here or more. So for the example I gave earlier, you have a link that is directing somebody to Paystack API documentation. Instead of you saying something like, if you want to access Paystack's full documentation, click here. You can say something like, follow this link to the Paystack API documentation. And then that word Paystack API documentation is your hypertext, is your hyperlink anchor text, basically. Yeah, so thank you. So if you have any questions, ready to take them. Once again, the link to the slide is down there. Hello.
Good morning, everyone. Speaking. Hello?
Yeah, questions.
Mic check.
Hello, everyone. So, hello, Solomon, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
You
okay.
talked about canonical URLs.
Yeah.
So, like, can you expand a bit more on that? For example, if I want to publish the same article to like 4 different places, and you said you need one, like, you need a main article. So, can you expand more on that?
Okay.
Canonical URLs.
Okay, no problem. So let me use a normal. Let me give you a real life example for that. You have an article, how to use Paystack documentation, and you want to publish it on your Hashnode blog, your Dev2 blog, your Medium blog. So now you first choose one of your blogs. Which of these is my main blog? It can be your Medium. So now publish it on your Medium first. When you've published it on your Medium and then you have the link to your article, you copy that link, you go to Dev2, you write the same article, just basically copy and paste the same article there. Now, on Hashnode, if you go to the settings, there's a section that says publishing settings in your Hashnode. Click on the publishing settings, you see something like canonical URL. They will basically ask you a question like, are you publishing this content? Now, paste the link of your Medium, the one you first published, paste that link there, and just publish it. Hashnode will help you do the rest. The same thing works for Dev. Before you publish the article, you see a settings. Do you want to set, in one of the settings there, you see, is this a canonical, are you republishing this content? That is usually the question they ask. Or do you want to set the canonical URL? Just basically paste that link of the published one there and then publish the article. Now, how it works under the hood is that in the content at the end of the day, there's a meta tag that says canonical URL. Your publishing platform will just basically put the link you provided inside that meta tag. And then when Google is scanning your website, Google scans your website and says, okay, Google sees a meta tag that is a canonical URL. Instead of Google analyzing this page, Google will just follow that link to your original blog and then give that to the reader. Does that answer your question? Okay, so.
Hi, yeah, great speech. My name is Esenyi Wachukwu, so I'm at Big Power. So, what do you think is the best distribution channel for technical writing? Take into consideration revenue, monetization, and the rest. Because, can you hear me?
I'm trying to.
Okay. My name is Esenyi Wachukwu, so senior product manager at Big Power. So, what do you think is the best technical writing distribution platform? You know, we have Hashnode, we have Medium, and the rest. Taking into consideration monetization, revenue, taking into consideration, a lot of simplicity of use and stuff like that. For example, Medium right now, they don't allow monetization of content for people in Nigeria and other things. And so, what do you think is the best? Also, for people to really reach out, like have huge audience here, like Substack, they do a lot and stuff like that. So what do you think? What do you advise somebody to use?
So are you coming from the point of an individual writer?
Yeah, I'm coming from the point of
okay.
Yeah.
So for that monetization, so you can take a look at Coil. They are one of the sponsors for this event. So they help you monetize your content for your articles. So they have this code. You write on their platform, they give this code and just embed into your article. So the more people read it, the more you get paid, basically. So that is a form. So now there's that medium issue. Yeah, it affects Nigeria. I know about it. So, and aside coil, I would have said medium. So since because of the medium issue, I would say coil. Now for distribution, you might want to look at SEO wise. So now out of all the platforms I've used so far, medium and dev2 have very crazy SEO. All these SEO things that I just explained, if you don't do any of them, and you're going to publish that article on dev2, your article will come up on the first page. They would help you do everything for you. So that's in terms of reaching to people, dev2, medium. But then if you are more focused on technical content for developers, dev2 is the best for you. What was that question again? Yeah, also, monetization. You're asking about monetization from making money from your readers. That's not the only way you can make money from your article. Companies can pay you to write about their product. That is actually what I do. I don't monetize my content in any form by putting any links or whatever. Free for you to read. I don't get any money from it. I get my money from companies coming to meet me and be like, okay, let's partner. I write an article for you. I get paid for that contract. Basically, that's another form of monetizing your content. And then for that particular one, in the resources section, there's a paid community writer program section there. So you see a list of articles, a list of companies that do that kind of thing. So summarize everything. Use medium if you can. If you cannot, use coil. If you cannot use both, get companies to sponsor your content.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Chimwendo. So my question is it advisable to have to publish your articles on more than one publishing platform? Like you have a Medium account, you have a Hashnode account, you publish on Coil. Is it advisable?
Yeah, it's very advisable, but then use the canonical URL. Another advantage that publishing on multiple platforms would give you is backlinks. So backlinks also help your article to rank on Google. So a backlink is just basically how many websites are referring to your website. So so now let's say we have page tag documentation, and then there are like 100 content. There are like 100 content on the 100 articles on the internet that are referencing that same documentation. So the more other websites reference your website, the more rank it gives on Google, and then makes your article come up on the first page. So yes, it is very advisable to publish on multiple platforms.
All right. Good morning. I'm Della. I'm a product manager at Wema Bank. So my question, I have two questions. First thing about PRD. What do you think is like the maximum number of, because I know engineers don't like to read. A lot of people don't like to read so many things. Right, so how many pages are like marked? Then second, you said something about consistency when it comes to writing. So for PRD, you probably want to write about the user, and you also want to write about the admin, right? So when it comes to that, on the same PRD, is it still advisable to say the user, as a user I want to, and then as an admin, or you still use user for admin?
Okay, so the first question, how many pages? I'm not a product manager, so I can't probably answer that question, but then try and make it interesting to read, and then, I don't know, summarize. See, I don't know. Now, for the second question, so there are two things you might want to look at for that, your second question on terminologies. So the first one is content-based, second is company, whole of the company. So for that particular content, you can say the admin. For another content, you can say the user. That is very okay. Very okay. So you might also want to look at it from a company-wide perspective, where in our company, we always refer to the reader as user, or we always refer to reader as customer. So it's up to you to decide which you want to follow. Now, consistency is not just that every single document should be following the same thing. It can be consistency in a particular document, or like consistency whole world. So that, for example, now, if document is talking about admin, and that content is talking about user, very valid. Okay, so
Please give it up for Solomon. Come to the end of the